I'm working with a team with an entire division. It's about 50 employees in enterprise risk within Navy Federal. And so they're a relatively new team, let's say within the last 2 years, and they've grown very quickly from about, the leader to a team of about 5 or 10 who I worked with about 2 years ago to now they're about 50 people, and they're in 4 different teams. And so there's a lot of change that's been happening, and a lot of, a few challenges with them sort of figuring out who they are and what it is that's going on. So I pitched, I shared the canvas with the leader, and I said, I think this would be a good model for us to walk through and just sort of talk through for the individual teams to get a sense of who they are. And essentially the goal is for each of the teams to craft their strategic narrative statement. So come up with, like I told them, come up with 3 to 5 sentences for each of the stories. So I've been working with all of the teams going through it. And so I wanted to share with you how that's been going and some key things that I've noticed.
Yes.
With it. So the thing that I always keep in mind is that I think that Navy Federal is what you call an optimizer organization. It's not a transformative organization. And so we're not trying to transform the financial industry. It's very much, they do finance, the members are our mission. It is about and it's a very conservative organization, both in how it operates internally, but also how it does its business in the financial market. Never got into the subprime loan business, always hedging its bets, always has a big buffer, when other things are going bust. They always cash because they just don't play, in that sort of sandbox. It's always sort of hedging their bets. So this is the tone. There's something that's even been said internally that we are fast followers or first to follow, which when I first heard that just sort of blew my mind, that a company in the United States of America would not be interested in being number one in the industry. They're more concerned about proud of never having had a layoff. Everyone is like family. They keep employees. They reskill and upskill people grow within the company, right? So this is sort of like the environment. So having conversations, even with the leaders or even with teams, about things like dream, vision, what do you think, what do you aspire to, is sometimes challenging because they're just like, it's like we're the largest credit union in the world. We're making the money, like we're doing what we need to do. We're churning. Like, what do you mean dream, vision, right? So it's been interesting to take the individual teams of this larger group through the process. So what's been easiest in some ways is origin story, because there's some folks on the team who know the origin of their particular team, and some who are new. So that was insightful for them, because the folks who were like, oh, I don't know, I just got to hear from the folks who'd been around about like what the origin story was for the team. Why did the team get started up? Why do we exist? That type of thing. So those were very interesting and rich conversations. Where the struggle is with the opportunity story. And the struggle with the opportunity story is when they hear opportunity, they hear, like SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So they're often, so I have to constantly redefine and discuss with them that no, it's not an opportunity for you. It's not like, here's our opportunity, here we could be better, but it's the opportunity that you see in the market. What's the opportunity for Navy Federal? What's the opportunity in the industry? And even still, when they get that, it's a bit of a struggle to speak in those grand dream vision tones. And I think part of that is the nature of the work that we do and the nature of the organization. Thought leadership, even amongst our senior leaders, is a challenge. So even like for a team, it's sort of like challenging. But they went for it. They still go, take it and do good the attempt. But the consistently, I saw that was a struggle area for them. And then the perspective story.
Well, can I just comment on, before you move on to the next of the 4 quadrants of the strategic narrative model? First of all, most organizations struggle with the opportunity, so they are not the only one.
Okay.
So the fact that your leaders wanted to steal, use their curiosity and stretch their thing, this is really good. You have to commend them for that. And I commend, like,
Yeah.
if anybody watches this video ever, I just want to commend them for that, because it's a challenging exercise. Like, you know, one of the participants of the strategic narrative workshop said one time, wow, this exercise of the opportunity story required a lot of mental flexibility. Like, and she was actually using yoga terms.
Yes, it is a challenge.
Everyone is recognizing this, but as a good exercise, and it's you stretch your thinking for a good reason. That's why when you do this, the organization starts to think bigger and broader and wider, and things become less complicated and more and less internally focused, right? And so the second point I wanted to make is that you may want to use the term holistic vision.
Okay.
Because I've noticed that the reason why most leaders struggle with the opportunity story is exactly what you said. So I was really, really excited to hear they think about them, like their business. And if you think about a circle, like 360 degrees, it's like they would be and let's assume like they're conducting a ship. They have the ability to turn their head everywhere. And what they're doing is that they're just looking at inside the ship. So their mindset has to evolve to 360 degrees, like what is happening on the horizon. So another term that I've been using in that context is, what are the horizons that we're seeing, not just for us, but for everybody we serve? So
I like that. I like that.
That new framework helps you.
Yeah, two thoughts. When you said holistic vision, I wondered why not just vision, because holistic confused me a little bit. But horizon sounds like I get what's coming up on the horizon, what we see. That sounds so. Vision and horizon, to me, resonate in sort of like giving the idea of forward, future, big idea, vision, what could be, possibility, aspirational.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because when you ask, you can do the test, Joy, and when you ask, you know, most business leaders, what's your vision? They'll talk to you all day long about their business and how it's going to grow, how many people, where they want to be number one category, blah, 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 blah. Very few will say, my vision is a world where ... where we treat, I'm just going to use other examples I've heard lately. I envision a world where we treat every patient equally with the highest level of care. That vision cannot be achieved by one organization. It's a whole ecosystem. It's a whole nation. It's a whole society. So when you think like this, you think movement, you think mobilization, you think collaboration, you change the way you think about competition, and you don't see competitors, you see colleagues. Right. So it's a little bit of a dreamy kind of version of strategy.
And so what else I also see is challenging for them in this space is that even our organization, so I'm doing this with a team within a division, right? So we're already 3 layers deep. So that's a struggle for them to imagine that, but it was also still a struggle even for the division to have those type of conversations about, well, what do they see for the organization? Because the organization doesn't speak in those terms, at least mine. My organization does not speak as an optimizer, does not speak in terms of the opportunity, the vision that it sees, the what it believes the financial industry could become. That's not even in so I see that as sort of, I just sort of like take that into account when I'm noticing the challenge and the struggle, because in general, that's just not the way that we speak and how the organization is viewing itself. We talk about our field of membership. So everything the organization cares about is our members and how to serve our members. That's our world. So this opportunity story is about like how to define what our world is and how we want to see that world change and be different.
In the future.
So I think I need to do more work in explaining that also, to help them be much more clear depending on the level at which they're talking it through. So it's a challenge for them and also for me. So that's sort of like so opportunity stories where it kind of like starts getting a little wonky.
So I agree with you, Joy. And just to wrap up on this chapter before you move into the perspective, I just want to read to you my definition of what a holistic vision is. So building a holistic vision is the practice of exploring and frequently communicating how you view the ideal future, not just for your business, but also for your environment, meaning your community, your market, and the whole world. Your holistic business vision helps you mobilize ideal clients, partners, recruits, and investors like a movement enrolls participants.
Okay.
So there are very important words in this. And the first one being, it is a practice. It's not something that you just do and you're right and you're done.
Yes.
Because it's just, again, I'm going to use the metaphor of the person at the helm of the ship, right? The ship captain. It's a constant, you're constantly looking around. So what does this mean for your business leaders? Is like, maybe there is a quarterly or monthly conversation about this. Hey, what are we seeing out there? How does this affect us? What, and why would we hope? What would we hope for what we're seeing out there? It's a healthy exercise. So I'm seeing it as a practice.
Yeah.
Chapter close.
That's helpful. That's really helpful. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So keep going now.
So so perspective story, it's much easier, slightly easier. So the sentence I used from your book, the sentence was, most people think this, but we disagree. And so, but again, sometimes the focus is on how they work. So it's also contextually for the team. Most people within their broader division think that they do this type of work, but they don't agree. They think that this is the importance of the work that they're doing and why they do. So there's still some work to be done, and it's really truly it being a perspective that they have on the body of work that they're doing. So some challenge there, but less so than the opportunity story. But that one is a little bit easier for people to grasp.
Yeah. I mean, and Joy, how big is your organization here? How many people are we talking?
Well, the group that I'm working with is the larger division is 50 people, but each team is probably like around like 16 each.
Okay. I mean, this is not just a handful of people. It's not just a small team. So I think it's natural, and I've observed this when I did work on merger and acquisitions and other large company, with big Fortune 100 companies, where it's like we're talking large number of people. So we can, it's the human brain. We can only see and make sense of what's near to us, right? And what is near to us in those large organizations is the work that we do on a regular basis. So that's why we hear our client is actually internal client, because we don't work in many departments, and I don't know if it's the case for you, don't see outside of that, right, on a daily basis.
Their clients are within our other business units within Navy Federal. So they've been great, because even within those smaller groups, I broke them up into smaller groups of probably about 4 or 5, and they each were in stories and moved around the board. So I did it in a mural board for them to.
That's great.
Do the session. So how I structured the session was two. The first session was a conversation for content. So it was in a mural board, had all the storyboards with the posted, and then had them sort of like 2 groups did origin story first, and the other 2 did opportunity story for 15 minutes, and they switched boards and looked at what was written on the other boards, and then added their own for another 10 minutes. And we came back as a large group to talk, and then we did perspective and product story, and then did the flip, and then came back and talked to the large group. And then about a week later, for some of them it's been 2 weeks, and I'm still have to finish 2 of them, the final session was, or the next session is for them to craft the statements, and it was like an hour, and they had 15 minutes to work on the sentences for the story, come back as a large group, read it out, get feedback from others, and then go back and edit. And then we came back, and I told them this is their living document that they're going to continue editing and crafting and talking about and talking through. So the feedback has been very positive, like they really work through, they really wrestle through, and just sort of like talking about yeah, this has been helpful to help them just to have that conversation and that framework. So the product story, much easier for them because, you know, like they have products and services already. They have ways in which they work with their clients. Where I pushed them was to come up with a call to action. Well, how do I know how to work with you? Like, what's your call to action? So with a little bit of pushing and prompting, most of them were able to come up with their specific call to action. And what do you want your partner or your client to do? Like, what's the engagement? One funny story was that there was one person in one of the groups who got so stuck on product story. She's like, well, what's the definition of product? She got like all detailed. Well, the product is this, and she was convinced that they didn't have a product. Another member of the team were like, no, we do it like this thing that we do. And so she kind of wanted the teacher, me, to like agree with her on her definition. And I said, don't get stuck with the definition. If it's bothering you, think of it as an offer. Like, what are your offers? What do you offer your clients, and how do they work with you? So,
yeah, that's good. That's an awesome suggestion. And remember, in the content of the strategic narrative workshop, I have a list of 15 or 20 different terms.
Oh, you do? Where?
Yeah, it's in there. I have offer, service, you know, package, tool. I mean, the list is pretty long. It depends on the context, right?
Yeah.
These days, I tend to use the term service, offer, and offering because I'm so focused on professional services businesses that it's the term that they're recognized. Although I have to say, product is more and more accepted. 15 years ago, product was like, wow, we don't do physical stuff here. We do. And now, because tech companies have really influenced so many markets with their product mindset, it's a more recognized thing. But sometimes, you know, like you have people who prefer other terms, so that's okay. Another way you can reframe that in the context of the whole strategic narrative canvas is to remind people that if the origin is where we started and the opportunity is where we're going, the product is the vehicle that takes us there. And the product is always the material expression of your perspective. So I'm kind of, you're probably visualizing here across, but if you show this to people, they'll go, oh, okay, I get it. I see the relationship now. So it helps them get unstuck with, this is my product and this is the, it just gives them a bigger picture mindset.
Yeah. No, well, that's what I wanted to share. That's what's happening. So all but 3, I think 2 out of 3 of the groups have completed their draft sort of statements, which is just like they have the origin, 3 sentences for origin story, 3 for opportunity, you know, and so we're going to go back over it. So their next step is we're going to come back as a large group for them to present their statements to all the other teams so that they know sort of like where they are at this point. But
beautiful.
The discussions were very rich, and it was just very insightful for them to sort of, as they talked through and heard each other share their perspectives on their team, and you know, sort of like wrestled and wordsmithed with their sentences and stuff. It was just very interesting. So I was just like, see if this can work. I was just like, I was like, has this model. I'm like, I just sort of threw it out there, and I just sort of like totally made it up on the fly in terms of like how I would execute it and move them through and what the conclusion would be. And I'm just like, I don't know if this will work for like,
but
for large team, but I'm like, I'm gonna try it. If it goes well, I'll tell Guillaume. If it doesn't, I'm gonna act like it never happened.
But I mean, you also have the skill set, and you have you're an expert storyteller. Like, my framework is based on my perspective that which consists of, as you know very well, but I'm just repeating here for the sake of this video here for whoever watches. My perspective is that we're really so focused on how we tell stories, and even a greater question is, what story should we tell, right? And I think you did such a wonderful job at bringing this model of many stories to life, and you hit on the 4 biggest one, but there are many more. You've got the core, just like the 4 areas of the heart, right? I don't know how they're called in English, but the 4 chambers of the human heart. Those 4 stories are the chambers of the organization's heart, and if you have them and if they're embraced by people, if people shape them, and they agree and they align, you get something immensely powerful. So congratulations for bringing this. I mean, you look at the work you did. You let these groups, right, align on the language they want to use. So how valuable is that? Makes their work easier. It just releases tension. It's just give people a sense of purpose. I mean, the list is just immense. So congrats.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for creating such a great model for it. So I'm really excited with how it turned out and how it's still turning out. And so the work continues with them. And so then the next step of, as I said, is for them to share it with each other, but then to have the ongoing conversation around this, and I've kept calling it a living document for them to keep coming back to it, to keep tweaking it, and to keep teasing it through and seeing what conversations come up because of it and the alignment, right? And I kept using that phrase, like, this is to help you guys to align and to, to become aligned so that you can mobilize and move forward together.
Awesome. Joy, this is such a good testimonial for what you were able to do with the framework that I offered you. I know you joined my workshop, the Strategic Narrative Workshop, in 2021. So I hope many people are inspired by your work. And I should have asked you in the beginning of the video. I know what you do, and I know you very well. We're colleagues and friends, and it's been a wonderful relationship, work relationship together. Can you just tell us what you do and where people can find some of your work, and if they want to contact you, if they have questions about this process?
Sure, of course. So I'm an organizational development consultant and a senior executive coach. So I do organizational development work internally within an organization, as I shared, at Navy Federal, a financial institution. And for those who don't know what OD work is, it's about supporting organizations in having better, improving their transformations, having better transformations, and being more effective in how they work, more effective and efficient in how they work internally. And so I work on a team with other ODs, and I also do coaching with our senior executives. So I bring the consulting and the coaching tool and skill set to my work. And so this work has been important. This canvas has been important in the work that I've done with one of the teams and helping them to get better aligned. They're a newer team, and have had a lot of change in their structure, helping them to get more aligned in their vision and their clarity, who they are, what they do, why they're here, and to then move forward and go forth and mobilize together. And the reception has been fantastic. They've had they found the conversations to be very valuable and powerful. And because it involved the entire team, not just the leadership, there was a great deal of participation and for everyone in the team to get aligned. So it's not like the leaders run off and come up with this thing and tell the team, but they're co-creating and forging their vision and identity going forward. And I think that that's going to make them a stronger and more powerful team going forward. So very excited about the work continuing, and thank you again.
Wow, this is cool. This is cool. So this work is internal to your organization, but also you have a website where we can contact you and see more work of yours?
Yeah, so my brand is Reframe to Create, and I work with professionals, helping professionals to liberate their work and get paid to be themselves. My focus is to help us move away from productivity and to creating consistently with our gifts and putting those gifts out in service and getting paid for it. And so if you're a professional who wants to figure out how to do this, liberate your work and get paid to be yourself, check me out, reframetocreate.com. I also have a podcast, Reframe to Create, by the same name. So check me out, reach out, and let's continue the conversation.
I love it. I love it. You have a great way to explain exactly what you do. Huge impact. Thank you so much, Joy. Thank you. Thank you.
You.